Stop for a moment and consider your relationship with money. When you think about your bank account, your debt, or your investments, what do you feel? Most of us assume financial success is a hard science, a matter of smart math and perfect logic. But the truth is, financial success is a soft skill. It's not about what you know. It's about how you behave. And if you've ever found yourself making a financial decision that defies all logic, maybe freezing up when you need to act, or spending impulsively when you know you shouldn't, you've met the real villain of your financial future. It's not your intelligence. It's your past pain. Money, at its core, gives you options, peace, and freedom. But for millions of people, pursuing it feels like guilt, anxiety, or pure terror. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to explore the hidden psychological force that anchors you to the past, and we'll show you the exact steps you can take to finally cut the line and choose a new financial future. The core issue is this: your brain does not know the difference between an emotional threat, like overwhelming debt, and a physical threat, like a sudden shock. When you experience chronic instability, prolonged scarcity, or a sudden, severe financial loss, what experts call financial trauma, your nervous system enters a state of high alert. It adapts brilliantly for survival. This isn't a moral failing, it's a primitive, protective response. It might stem from losing a business, facing unemployment, or even growing up watching your parents struggle to meet basic needs. These are economic hardships that leave a profound, lasting impact, often passing anxiety and scarcity mindsets from one generation to the next. If you feel crippling fear when you open a banking app or intense shame about your financial status, you are not broken. You simply adapted to survive instability. But to move forward, we must acknowledge the pain, turn away from the blame and shame, and recognize that these survival strategies are now self-sabotaging your success. Financial trauma forces us into a spectrum of defensive behaviors. Think of these as desperate attempts by your nervous system to regulate itself. On one end, you have avoidance and denial. This is the person who refuses to open bills, enters denial about accumulating debt, or ignores their bank account entirely, because dealing with money triggers intense worry and panic. This strategy hopes that if you don't look at the problem, it doesn't exist. On the other end, you find hypervigilance and constriction. This person is obsessed with control. They might check their balances multiple times a day, or operate with a paralyzing scarcity mindset, even when they're earning well. This often stems from childhood deprivation, leading to extreme, unsustainable saving habits. Every dollar is strangled by fear. And then there's impulsivity and maladaptation. This is the urge to spend excessively or gamble as a way to find immediate, temporary relief from emotional pain. Paradoxically, trauma-induced insecurity can even lead to reckless financial risks in investing, a form of self-sabotage driven by feeling unworthy of success. These destructive habits are amplified by shame. That shame forces us into secrecy and isolation, making it incredibly difficult to seek help. The consequences aren't just financial, either. Financial stress is a major trigger for poor mental health. In fact, 42% of US adults report that money negatively impacts their mental health. To understand how the past controls the future, we need to look at behavioral finance. It tells us that financial decisions are heavily influenced by human emotion and biases. When you perceive a loss, the emotional centers of your brain, the amygdala, are activated, overriding your capacity for rational thought. Two biases in particular hijack your future wealth. First, loss aversion. This is the paralyzing weight of risk. It means the psychological pain of losing money is felt far more intensely than the pleasure of gaining an equivalent amount. For a trauma survivor, this bias is severely amplified. It causes you to make overly conservative, defensive choices. You'd rather pass up the opportunity for a large gain in favor of guaranteed safety, sticking to low-return vehicles like savings accounts or bonds. While this feels protective, the analytical consequence is severe. By prioritizing capital safety, You guarantee an invisible, long-term loss of purchasing power as inflation erodes the value of your safe assets. You avoid a small, acute risk, but you invite a subtle, chronic risk. Second, the anchoring bias. This is the burden of your past reference point. It's the tendency to rely too heavily on an initial piece of information, the anchor, when making future decisions. If you experience childhood poverty, that scarcity becomes an unconscious anchor for your self-worth and future expectations. This is why people consistently accept underpaid job offers, trapped by an anchored perception of their low value. Or, the anchor can be a massive past failure. One reported case showed how a young professional, by simply failing to contribute to a company $401k for just 3 years, calculated that they had lost an estimated $400,000 by retirement age. The regret of that catastrophic inaction becomes an anchor of pain that paralyzes all future risk-taking, guaranteeing further missed opportunities. The biggest cost of past money pain is the compound interest of fear. When you avoid or procrastinate, driven by that fear, you sacrifice the eighth wonder of the world: compound growth. The inaction of the risk-averse investor against the relentless pressure of inflation is often the greatest risk of all. This fear-driven inaction traps you in a vicious cycle. The behaviors that stem from the trauma, whether it's extreme caution or reckless risk, lead to new setbacks. These new failures then validate the original trauma, reinforcing your deepest fears and making change feel impossible. Over time, this erodes stability through damaged credit and limited opportunities for growth. But you have the power to break this. Healing financial trauma is a holistic process that requires changing your mind before you change your numbers. It moves in 3 critical steps. Step 1. Mindset and awareness. You must first recognize that you are both the protagonist and the author of your new money story. Start with radical self-compassion. Then, practice cognitive restructuring. Actively identify and challenge the negative self-talk, like the thought, "I always screw up my taxes." Replace it with a proactive reframe. "I'm thankful for what I have, and I can work with an accountant to plan for next year." Crucially, apply mindfulness to finance. Calming your nervous system through awareness allows you to observe emotional triggers and anxious thoughts without immediate judgment, improving your decision-making. Step 2. Behavioral reconditioning. Overcome inertia by using the technique of microdosing bravery. This means taking small, strategic risks that align with your values. Don't try to fix everything at once. Commit to reviewing your bank balance for 15 minutes, or automate a minimal 1% contribution to savings. Each tiny, successful action builds self-efficacy, gradually rewiring your brain to associate financial movement with safety, not panic. Also, be assertive and set healthy financial boundaries. Learn to politely decline requests to lend money or spend beyond your means. Step 3. Strategic rebuilding. Finally, implement a structure. This involves basic financial literacy, understanding concepts like compound interest and credit scores, which replaces stress with confidence. Write down a simple, realistic financial plan and establish clear goals, such as an emergency fund. For many, this requires financial therapy, a specialized help that integrates traditional counseling with financial planning to address the emotional root causes while giving you the technical guidance you need to rebuild your security. Your past pain is powerful, but it is not destiny. It shaped your experience, but it is not a map of your future. You don't have to stay stuck in survival mode. The journey to financial freedom is a marathon, demanding patience and perseverance. But it starts with one single strategic step. If this video resonated, you likely have an anchor you need to address. Do not let the paralysis of the past define your potential. Your action plan is simple. Choose one area today where you can microdose bravery. Schedule 10 minutes to open that statement, automate that 1% contribution, or research a financial therapist in your area. Take that tiny step, break the cycle of shame, and begin writing the script for the secure, calm, and abundant financial life you deserve. The power to choose is yours. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss more valuable insights about finance